is iRacing.
While the Lotus 79 was built for cornering speed, it still feels right at home here at Monza. Time to trim out those wings as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on iRacing and the Global Sim Racing channel. I am Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Jake Sperry. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Jake, it doesn't get much more legendary than F1 cars at the Temple of Speed.
It doesn't. And I think the important thing to remember is when you're racing at Monza today, it's not just racing at Monza. We take the Variante Rettifilo and say, no, we do not want to run the Rettifilo today. It is a straight up full bore attack all the way from the final corner of the Parabolica, going through the Biasino curve and over to the Della Roggia, the first real braking zone on the lap. It is going to be all about draft, all about downforce, and the all-important thing to remember is that this is the sort of circuit that brings anybody out of the woodwork.
Should see quite a bit of attendance, and I'm sure most are familiar with Monza, but just in case, let's head to our track guide for more info. Welcome to Monza. This track has a major place in racing history, not just for the legendary races, names, and cars that have been here, but because it was the third purpose-built car racing circuit in the world. It's often discussed and reverenced among fans, and especially by Italians who have nicknamed it the Temple of Speed. In fact, the Ferrari fans here are so famous for their devotion that they have been dubbed the Tifosi and never fail to show up in droves. While the real world offers only 3 feasible layouts to race on due to safety, in iRacing, the inclusion of the oval and the lack of safety concerns gives it a stunning 9 versions drivers can choose from. The modern GP layout is of course the most well-known, with its long history of hosting the Italian Grand Prix. But the oval and combined circuits allow those who thirst for more speed to satiate that craving with its insanely high banking. Indeed, incredible velocities are a staple of just about every version you can race here. Draft battles are not uncommon, no matter which car you're racing. But the inclusion of the chicanes makes using an outbraking maneuver a much more tricky way of overtaking. The circuit is notorious for drivers getting tangled up with each other while running side by side in these slow and cumbersome corners. In fact, one of the greatest dangers for drivers is the first few laps when the field is still clumped together and attempting to navigate them 2 and 3 wide. While there are other modern circuits with high-speed straights, the fact that Monza sits inside the Royal Park just north of Milan and is still tightly lined with trees heightens the sense of speed here. All in all, Monza is unmatched in its history, thrills, and great racing. Its significance in motorsports history and culture is sure to be unchallenged for years. Really is a beautiful park, and as we can see, it's got a lot of straight lines throughout the lap compared to most modern circuits, Jake.
Absolutely. We find ourselves just 5 miles out from the industrial heartland of Milan here in Italy. And this is a circuit that has all of the high-speed thrill rides as we drive around the Royal Park here of Monza in Lombardia in Italy. Now, this is a circuit that will provide challenges, but they will be slightly different. So this will have a very stop-start nature. The only real medium downforce corners you'll find over the course of the lap are through the Ascari chicane and over to Parabolica, the final corner out there on track. You've got those 2 Lesmo corners, which act as medium to slow speed corners, but if you can carry the momentum out of 4, that gives you the run to 6, 7, 8, and then over to turn number 9. So there are some critical corners on this lap, but importantly, it's all about carrying speed and having a draft partner.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see quite a few trains forming with those draft partners. I get the feeling that it's going to be a little bit of a cat and mouse game, especially towards the end, to see who wants to place themselves where. Now, we also have one round down so far in the championship, and last week we saw Pauli Partanen take victory, so he is on the top step. He beat out current reigning champion Togo Hisada, who did come home in second. And then Andreas Valenteus, the man who's kind of starting to earn the reputation of being Mr. Vintage Racing on iRacing, is just dominating in all three of the series, but he wasn't able to take the win last time. Might be a little bit tough to get it here today as well, since it won't be just outright raw speed as well. But just one round, so it is rather tight at this stage. That's just F1 though, Jake. We have an F2 standings as well.
Yeah, that's for drivers who have a little bit less I rating than some of those around. Josephine Becker on top of that, ahead of Bjorn Ackermann by 3. Simon Steinbild is third, ahead of Martin Reisman in 4th position. Matthew Cockram and Jason Krakowiak make up 5th and 6th, ahead of Jem Matzan and Eki Anderson then in 8th position. Adam Klatschka is 9th overall in the standings, with Barry West there in 10th position, looking to make a charge up the order, a big fan favorite.
They also do something kind of cool here. They have a teams standing, so this is all something that drivers can opt into, that they run privately in the Lotus 79 community. Parmalat Racing Team currently up at the top after this first one, and a decent gap down to the Arrows team, about 21 points, especially considering it is only one round in. Krakowiak sitting in 3rd, with Alfa Romeo in 4th, a single point ahead of JIB Racing. These are, of course, all based on real teams from the era of the late 70s into the early 80s. I do believe they switch it up per season to be to a specific year as they ran in the actual F1 series. But that's how they sit right now. Of course, after a single round, it'll probably get pretty shuffled up here today as we start to get a better sense of the order. But let's talk about today's race, Jake. What's our race details?
Well, as we get to racing action, it's round 2 of 12. We'll be running one round each and every single week. So that will be something to keep your eyes on here with us on the Global Sim Racing channel and on iRacing. 25 laps, so this will go quick. So there'll be no need for a pit stop. Open setup, so everyone's driving something slightly different to everyone else. There are no spare cars if you get into trouble. And with iRacing official servers, most of them, you get a drive-through penalty at 17 iRacing incident points and disqualification from the race at 25, which means an extra 8 after your drive-through. Now we'll see many get that today with such high speeds today, Joe. I expect we'll see more retirements than we will do incident points.
Most likely. It's going to be hard to avoid accidents with everybody going so quickly around this track. Now, speaking of going quickly, qualifying sees Togo Hisada after his 2 laps on provisional pole, Alberto Senao. Now, that's a name I don't remember seeing all that often. Not sure, I've just missed him in the weeks that I've been away. But we said, Jake, that we might see some drivers come in that aren't typically regulars because of this track being such a pride for the Italian crowd.
Yeah, well, Alberto Senao had a pretty decent running last week, kept himself well within the top 10, and was certainly proving that he had championship pace on him, not to the standard of what the top 3 did in that opening round. But as we focus with Dylan Freckleton here, running through the final corner with that vintage livery that he's run time and time again, he's looking to jump himself up. Jacob Reed to 3rd position, the Worcesterman, who is a data scientist by trade and a former pro stripe in iRacing circles. He finds himself 3rd. Jack David Spickett then looking also to try and get that charge over towards the line. We'll see what this is going to be with just under 2 minutes to go here in qualifying. That is a 28.7 on the board for him, and that is not going to be enough to make too much progress. 19th at the moment is the likes of Dylan Freckleton, working hard at this moment in time, and you can't hurry a Lotus, apparently, it says on his car, Joe, but at the moment, I think he'll have to.
Yeah, Freckleton, like you said, still down in 19th. He's got a minute and a half left. This is a track where it's easy to complete both laps since they are so short. And he's already halfway through this one as he heads down into the Ascari chicane. This is a relatively swift chicane considering, like you said, kind of a medium speed corner. And you can see hitting each and every apex so important, but the thing that is also a worry is those tall sausage curbs. These cars are not meant to ride those, Jake.
No, they're not. And of course, this car being the forefather of the ground effect era of motorsport, you start thinking about, right, you do not want to be unsettling that car unnecessarily because you'll get a massive influx of grip once you jump off of that curb, and it's so easy for the car to just go one way or the other depending on which way you've got the steering wheel. That's a bit better, though, from Dylan Freckleton. That 28.7, that's enough for 4 spaces to go up to 15th. You've got Timothy Reed, no relation to Jacob Reed, of course, and really trying to rag on that car over the junior section of the circuit out of Ascari. And how fitting, running red here around what is Tifosi land.
Yep, trying to do them proud, although he goes in extremely shallow down into the Parabolica. I'm not sure what he's trying to do with that, unless he's happy with that 28.6 and just practicing some alternate lines. He'll cross the line. That's why this lap got deleted. So he probably was trying to practice alternate lines into there in case he finds himself in a battle. That means that our grid is now set. So guess it's time to go through that starting order here today. Not as critical at this track, but you do want to be up towards the front of the field so that you don't get caught up towards the tail end and lose touch with that slipstream train. It's going to be Togo Hisada on the pole position as Alberto Senao will be starting next to him in second. You've got Jacob Reed in third and Oye Zamaloa P4, Pepe Fuentes in fifth, and Pauli Partsinen, current championship leader, only starting sixth. Kjell Arnar Svensson in seventh today, JD Rodriguez P8, Alexis Tapiavico on the inside of that fifth row with Henry Morse rounding out your top 10.
It's worth noting, Pauli Parson won from 5th last week, so he's no stranger to making places. Aaron Blair and Timothy Reed are on row 6 with Philip Kunhardt and JDS, Jack David Spickett, former champion in these cars. He's got to go from 14th. Dylan Freckleton has Christophe Lenajak there in 16th position with Javi Mosquera and Mickey Friesen making up your top 18. Jason Green, no stranger to running open formula. He's there in 19th place as Shadi Ahmad will round out your 20.
Pablo Hoglar will be starting 21st with Kevin Parrish in 22nd. Then it's Josh Brain, P23. Gabri Martinez starts in 24th, followed by Juan Fran Hernandez in 25th. Outside of the quarter century mark, it's Daniel Gallus without a lap time, and Jason Clapper likewise starting 27th today. And usually we see Jason Clapper climb up through the order. We'll see if he can repeat that. Like we said, easier to pass here than many tracks, but you don't want to be having to pass too many. And up at the front, Togo Hisada will hope he doesn't have to pass anybody as he starts from that pole spot in the number 5. Starts of the race could be pretty important, though. You don't want to get slow off the line and get swamped, especially considering how long it is until the first braking zone. Green flag is out, and it does look like it's a decent start for the front row, but coming up from 5th or 6th place, who is that scything up through the field? I think that was Zamaloa, and meanwhile, Pauli Partsinen gets the draft in the second phase. He's already to the inside looking for the lead up to Kerber Grada, and he's got it.
That's what he does. He's very good off of the starts. His qualifying's been a bit circumspect this season, but that was a wonderful launch. He has got them absolutely spot on a dime. In they go for the first time. Look at how it bottlenecks up. There's a spinner in the middle, and that's going to be Jacob Reed, who's now dropped himself down a mile in the order and has himself in the gravel. So a huge disaster on the start for Jacob Reed. Alberto Senao now down to 3rd. Samayoa, the Basque Bandit, there in 4th place. But critically, it is a perfect start for Postman Pauli, who's looking to deliver again.
And Shady Ahmad, unfortunately, on the entry into the chicane, got a little bit caught up as well. Meanwhile, we continue to watch the number 2 as he leads ahead of his Sodus, now down into 3rd, just behind them. Zamaloa trying his best not to lose touch as we ride on board with Alberto.
Yeah, he's got a reminder there on his front to say, change it. You got to get a diff in through the gears. And now it's about sitting up and saying, where do I want to be? Can I hold the margins here? They've got the car at the heaviest it will be over the course of this race. The tyres aren't what they are going to be worried about in terms of wear. They're worried about how much fuel's going to come out of that car and how light it's going to be. Togo Hesada, the reigning champion, the emperor of the Lotus, sits and waits in second position because he doesn't want to immediately get by Pauli Parson and realise I'm on a disadvantage compared to everybody else. This is the sort of track where you have to play mind games. You sit, you wait, you hold track position, you win.
Yep, nobody trying anything this time through. Up to 190 miles an hour by the time they get to the Curva Grande. Let's see what happened to Jacob Reed up towards the front of the field. He still is in the thick of it, and just the lightest of touching of wheels in these cars, unfortunately, will send you flying up into the air, and he gets a second hit for good measure.
And that's what happens when you just get it wrong once, because everyone's got to try and funnel through that section. It's not like it's the super speedway version where they don't take the second chicane either. You find that once you find the first braking zone, those brakes will be cold as they charge through, and you just got to make sure you step on with everything that you've possibly got. Philip Koenhart here in 13th position, looking to jump up for P12 against Aaron Blair, but just in front of that, Henry Morse repping the Players Special out there at the moment, trying to find a way past JD Rodriguez, who's the last chance saloon in to get into this race. Car number 27 with his iRacing, but critically here, punching well above his weight in P6.
Wearing one of my favorite paint schemes, the Ferraman car, but unfortunately, he's going to lose one of those places that he gathered up at the start. Henry Morse now 4 up from where he began. Timothy Reed in behind them as well as the trio swings through here. 188 miles an hour as the cars are turning so incredibly fast before they slam on the brakes.
Yep, and they really have to get it ground down. It's a single file chicane through here, and Aaron Blair finds out the hard way. Then as he goes over, Philip Koenhart discards his rear spoiler, and he will now have to wait for everybody to go by to try and make that work. It looks something like the early 70s out there in the low drag strip, like it's trying to tackle Indy.
And all the way back to about 26th position. You can see he's already struggling to get it through the corner. The car is not going to be handling well. He could take it in for repairs, but he's going to be even worse off after that. His day severely compromised. Henry Morse still our quickest out there, holding the fastest lap so far, but a long ways to go. We're watching Pepe Fuentes just ahead of him within the top 5, exactly where he started this race.
Yeah, and you would have noticed as well there, Joe, the fact that Pepe moved over to the right-hand side of the circuit, not to eye up and try and get a move of any kind, but more rather to try and just duck out the slipstream, not get the pass done here into Parabolica, and then run into more troubles. Timothy Reed, by the way, jumps into the pits as Jacob Reed now will get one done. That will move him up then into position. Then as that goes, and that's Timothy Reed with a black flag next to his name out there, so that might have been a jump start by Timothy Reed, which has dropped him down the order. But Jacob Reed in full recovery mode, didn't take the season opener to go out there and race, so really on the back foot to start this season.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out as well, because I don't recall seeing that black flag highlighted before, so could be a false start, could be the fact that maybe he cut a corner and didn't give enough time back somewhere. But regardless, I highly doubt it's too many incident points at this early stage of the race. This is exactly what we were talking about expecting having in this race. At the front of this group, it is Hernandez being chased by Clapper, Green, Gallus, Reed, Friesen, Brain. It goes well back here.
It absolutely does, and you see these packs, they start to form when you lose contact with the group in front. There's not much you can do. Elena Jacques then sees Gabri Martinez make a great move around the outside of Ascari to pick up that place. All curb it ended up being for Elena Jacques. Not much could be said, but Gabri, who was so far down in qualifying, I was shocked to see him on the final page of qualifying, finds himself up to 14th, but Hurler is coming straight back for the inside, getting the move done at Parabolica. But now coming off of the exit, Gabri now is going to need to try and utilize that outside pack and get a huge run like it's a comic book superhero.
Martinez just getting a little bit ahead, but you can see they start to even out with one another. Behind them, they've got Kevin Parrish, who's getting a double toe. Will he try and make it pretty wide? No, he does not, as now they enter the long, curving right-hander of the first corner. And then it's going to be heavy braking once again, down into the De La Roja chicane. Martinez will take it over Olenek.
Yeah, an easy little pass then to get it sorted, and that's the control that you need at the front. They've got a bit of a gap here, 2 seconds now to Hoglar, who is there in 13th place, so that's a lot to try and gather back. We talk about a rubber band when we get to racing action with Slipstream, about 1.5 seconds, and it snaps, and you have to use pure pace to get yourself back in line. Daniel Gallis here in the back of this train, looking to try and work away up to 19th place now at this point, with Jacob Reed in tow in the middle of all of this to say, you know what, we got to get past a green car with a driver called Green inside.
Very appropriate. And Jason currently running in that 19th spot, doing his best to maybe catch back up to Hernandez as well. But he will have quite a bit of pressure as many cars in behind, including Jacob Reed overtaking Gallus, and that's going to put Reed up into 20th spot. Everybody looking for the launch coming off of Parabolicas. Now JD Rodriguez takes the fastest lap from pretty much the middle of the pack.
Oh, Senau's going to start making a move here. He's tired of sitting back, tired of waiting. Pauli's going to be forced to defend here for this race lead. Senau trying to go around the outside. That's not going to work. Pauli Partonen staves it off by holding the inside to the first part of the De La Roja, and so Alberto Senau gets position. Togo Hesada falls back into third, and you've got to be careful here because it is 8 at the front if you count Alexi Tapia-Vico. In fact, 9 if you want to count Svensson as well. So they're all trying to hold on, and this is the key. Everyone's going to start going, well, I'm not going to go as quick as I want to. That brings more people to the party. The more cooked you have, the easier the broth spoils.
Yeah, I'm looking to see, and I think it's down to Svensson in 9th, where we finally kind of have a break of that slipstream. So yeah, look at that huge pack of cars. And I got to ask you, Jake, how would you want to play this? Do you want to be up in Partonen's position, controlling the race, or do you want to hang back?
I want to hang back. I want to be somewhere about P4, P5 at this moment in time. I don't want to be showing my cards. I don't want to be going at the front. If I'm looking at this one, maybe about lap 15, I'm starting to make my move up to third to second, and then I'm holding for the final lap. If you're Alberto Senau and you think you've got all the confidence at the front of this field, by all means go for it, and he's going to get the launch here past the Rettifilo into the Biasino curve, named after the small town of Biasino, which is on the outside of this corner. But look at the drive that Pauli is trying to hold himself in with. He does not know how to let go of that race lead. He has won so many times from these sorts of positions, and he'll look to do so all over again.
And what's one of the things we've mentioned a number of times about Pauli? He's very good at being able to trim out the car and handle low downforce. So this is obviously going to be a track that suits him very well. Everybody's going to have to work hard to try and take that top spot away as we ride on board with current reigning champion Hesada in the number 5. He's been sitting here back in second and then now in third for some time. So he seems to be content to try and do what Jake is suggesting. It doesn't seem like Alberto really wants that, as he's now repeatedly tried to go by the lead car.
Well, if he finds a way through, that's going to be where cleverness is going to be found. But I wouldn't want to try and risk this one too early in this race. You can see there, almost taking a second groove, is Pauli Partonen, driving the car at about 1.5 off the apex then. That's just to open up, knowing that he can attack off the exit, and it will stymie the runs of those around. Senau gets a fantastic launch off the exit. Can he get the full clearance, though? And Togo moves over quite wisely to the left-hand side, not wanting to really do too much. Pauli comes back on the side draft, though, as they attack to the gas. Look at them. The respect needed to try and hold each other's line, not deviating too much to make that contact. Pauli looks like he's got a little bit more in a straight line, and that is going to be concerning for Senau here in terms of how you make that move, because he might have to go unorthodox if he wants to win this race.
And I love how this chopper cam gives you a sense of the speed of these cars as they fly down those main straights. Meanwhile, Watch out for Zamaloa behind them in that 4th position. He's just been kind of hovering here at the bottom of our screen this entire time. Kind of wonder what he's thinking. I do want to give a little bit of housekeeping. We've lost Philip Kuhnhart as well. And Timothy Reed, we did find out his black flags seem to be from entering the pits, so he just came in a little quick. And to make it even stranger, he quit not because of intentionality, but his connection dropped. He had a packet loss, so that's a bizarre one. We'll try and get the X-Files on that. In the meantime, Alberto Senau continues to chase and is continuing to hound Partanen.
And speaking of those trying to hound, Jacob Reed now looking to jump through. This is P15 as he cuts through another one and says, that is as easy as pie for me to make it happen. Senau again pulling over, gets to the race lead. That pass for Reed was on Jason Clapper on his last to first recovery. But Senau here, he can hold the speed here. That's fine. He gets the pass done into the Biasino. He just can't carry the top speed. And Pauli, as we know, one of the best at trimming out a Lotus 79, is doing a great job, and having to defend there, that's Henry Morse against Alexi Tapia Vico. So with him and Kim Eike Svensson then in this group as well, this now becomes a 9-car group that's got to figure out where do we want to be and how do we move up, because there's another philosophy that you've got to go to, Joe, and that is the chaos theory, which is they're going to crash in front. We got to be in a position to pick up the pieces if that happens.
Yeah, which means you need just a little bit of space, most likely, and you don't want to be right on the gearbox like we see with Dylan Freckleton practically pushing Aaron Blair down into the Ascari chicane, but he backs out and gives him some breathing room. Coming off of that final chicane down towards Parabolica, Blair tries his best to run away, still where he started this race. Oh, and we might want to go back up to the lead. So now has mugged Partanen coming into that Parabolica turn. He is now our leader, but will he hand it right back?
Well, I'd say if you're making that move at Parabolica, I wouldn't want to make that immediately, because now you've just let Pauli know that he's vulnerable at that section of circuit. He'll move across, and look at it. This is like Indy. You've got 2 distinct trains that they were looking for. JD Rodriguez and Henry Morse as well, side by side. Pauli trying to make it work, but now it's Senau who's got the inside line and gets the side draft back. So that is so telling right now with the way that they're racing. I don't think this is all about downforce anymore, as Senau gets a massive kick over the gravel, which puts them side by side through the 2 consecutive rights to Lesmos. Parton has to fall back out of line. I think this is purely down to the fact that you got drivers who can get the side draft straight back and give themselves that slingshot to launch over to the Della Roggia.
It's absolutely wild that drivers have now resorted to sort of NASCAR tactics around here, slowing their rivals down. And yeah, I think you're right. Positioning the car into that braking zone of the Della Roggia is going to be make or break. Drivers will be jockeying to try and get that side of the track coming around into that turn. But we watch on board with our leader, Alberto, looking back at Partanen as Togo Hisada just waits in the background behind them. Again, Hisada and Zamaloa have been the dark horse so far, but we're early stages, not even halfway through this race, and now we're back onto the main straight once again.
Yeah, and Henry Morse now is the one who's looking for ideas. He pulls out of line, looking for a pass as Pauli now starts to make his move as late as he dares. But JD Rodriguez has slipstreamed from the 5 in front even, and that gives Henry just a wall of air that he can't find a way about. Tapia Vico starts to pull out of line to find a move. They'll scrap into the Della Roggia here, and it's gonna be a hard-fought battle. Around the outside, up and over. Alberto Senau deposited into the wall.
Oh, and he has to wait just a bit. He finds enough of a gap that he sneaks through in time, and he's able to get going, but the damage is done. He is outside the top 10. We don't know what state the car is in, because that could have easily disrupted the suspension.
So you remember when Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton were having those ding-dong battles in their title championship season where it went down to the wire and they both took each other out over at turn 1, which was the Variante del Rettifilo? This is exactly the same type of incident. Watch what happens. Big chunkier rear tyres in through the first section, through the second, bang, onto the tyre. Nothing you can do about it. How fitting there's a Red Bull helmet there as Senau hits the barriers.
There may have been the tiniest bit of lag involved in that, as well as netcode may have detected them contacting when it didn't look like it on our screens, but I think that is the nature of racing over the internet. You race close, and you always risk potentially having that touch. That does allow Partonen to carry on, and now Hisada is back up to P2. Now, he was not attacking like we saw Alberto doing. Will he start to pick up that mantle, or will he continue to play it cool as we watch Vico back here in 7th spot, just behind Henry Morse?
Yeah, they're all there. They're all lining up. It's 8 now at the front. I can confirm that Alberto Senau is down in the pits, so he's effectively out. A lap down as well. Shadi Ahmad, for example, as Dylan Freckleton eyes up a top 10 against Aaron Blair, who, remember, just about skirted away from damage earlier on in this race with Philip Kunhardt. So there are battles going on all throughout this order, and so when you get that main train and it's gone, it's very much seeing a discarded peloton, say, on a mountain stage. Because you get one rider here, one rider there, one driver here, one driver there. It's pretty much that same sort of philosophy. Fend for yourselves.
Svensson's now up to 8 because of that loss. And as we watch Dylan Freckleton, we've actually had a big accident. We can just see on the screen there, Henry Morse involved in that one. He comes onto the track almost in front of his rivals as Vico is missing a wheel and he is out.
That's a hefty shunt for Alexi Tapia Vico, and there's not much you can do. That one coming in the middle of the group here has completely thrown JD Rodriguez off the back. It leaves 4 at the front, and that's the risk you have in a big pack like that, and suddenly you have an incident. If you're on the wrong side of the divide, your race is written.
It's very much, I mean, you described it as super speedway racing, and yeah, it is the road racing equivalent of what you see at Talladega, at Daytona, where accidents are not small ones and drivers can find themselves out of this one in the blink of an eye. Let's see how this evolves, because we only saw the tail end of it. So Morse, the driver in front of him just gets a little loose. Morse gets popped up into the air, and Vico was an innocent victim. Just like you said, wrong place, wrong time.
Well, the issue there for JD Rodriguez is that the moment you have any doubt going up into Ascari, because you've got to commit through the corner, you have to make sure you hit the turn correctly. If you run wide, there's anti-cut curbs inside and outside. So if you're over those anti-cut curbs, you're going to get popped up in the air, and you're just going to have to hold on to it and hope that you're not going to run into any troubles. The issue he runs into is he runs out of time. And so Henry Morse is in and around, they come together, and then Alexi Tapia Vico, you just have to close your eyes and pray you get through it, and he just didn't. Tough for him, but Pepe Fuentes at this moment in 4th place, I think right now is the one driver who's got absolutely nothing to lose here in this group right now. I think he'll be absolutely pleased with the fact he's got no pressure coming from behind, and this second half of the race, I think it's his for the taking. If he can just put his foot down, give Oye Samayoa something to think about, this could be a great race for the Spaniard and the Basque driver to bring themselves into play. Jack David Spickett through on Svensson now, and they're going to have to work together to get back to JD Rodriguez.
Kind of wonder if that's what we were seeing with them, is that they were just leapfrogging and using that extra speed that the slipstream can provide to try and catch up. They can make up maybe about a second to catch up to Rodriguez, and then 3 could potentially catch up to those top 4. But we check back in with Mickey Friesen, who has been overtaken by Kevin Parrish, and he's going to have to slot right back in behind him. While, how about this? We haven't checked in on Jason Clapper. He's in the mirrors of this number 19 car and is up to 14th.
Well, I'd like to point out that Jacob Reed, after being spun around on the opening lap, is up to 11th at this stage. He's doing God's work at the moment. Mickey Friesen, who we have seen so often out there racing with us on the Global Sim Racing channel, is going to want to try and move himself up and gain a place. But as he is trying to get by Kevin Parrish, you can see Parrish 6K on the back of his rear wing to indicate, I've got 6,000 iRating right now. That's great. What happens when you drop down to 5? Are you going to suddenly turn to Parrish 5K?
Exactly. But yeah, Kevin Parrish, I'm actually seeing it looks like 3,000 iRating, but I wonder if that is specific just to his open wheel. Meanwhile, Pepe Fuentes, okay, he now takes the fastest lap at the back of that top train up at the front order. That is a fascinating little tidbit that could play a part later on. Meanwhile, yeah, okay, so we've swapped over to Pepe Fuentes now, sitting behind Partanen, Hisada, Zamaloa. The gap is up to 3.5 seconds now. It is looking like it's going to be pretty hard for that second group to catch them.
So Pauli Partanen has been champion before. Togo Hisada has been champion before. Samayoa, as we watch Parrish side by side. Friesen, long way around, is going to get that move done. Yes, sir. Cutback attempt tries to come into play. And now Clapper tries to get his eyes open in the mirrors to the first of the two Lesmo corners and is not going to find it. One thing I've got to know, Samayoa, we normally see him not in the 79s, but in the 49s as he turns up. He is someone who can always win in a 49, is constantly beating the best, like Mick Claridge, who I think has only beaten him once in his entire career when he's gone through, and he's a multi-time champion of the 49s. So Samayoa's got great pace out there, and the Basque Bandit is now looking to try and find every single opportunity to jump on through, to gain those 2 places, and to completely upset the tried and true echelon at the front, the top 2, Partanen and Hisada, who have fought on 2 separate occasions here at Monza into last lap duels.
While we were watching Clapper, we did see him go a little bit off course, so that's why he dropped back and has lost touch with that battle he was in. Svensson now our quickest, so that third group definitely swapping back and forth a little bit there. There they are now. It is Spickett, who is at the front of that group, hoping to make up for wasn't the best of races for him back in the Lotus 49s. They were at VIR just yesterday morning, and top 5 might be the most we'll see unless we get more that drop off. I mean, we have lost, let's see, what was it at 9? So we've lost 5 cars from that front group. It's not impossible that more could fall away.
Joe, do you want to know something interesting here? Pepe Fuentes actually has a tie for the fastest lap with Svensson.
Oh. Interesting. Okay, so down to the 1,000th. I am showing them 1,000th apart, but of course it could be estimating on our time and scoring here, as clearly it is mighty close between the pair of them. JD Rodriguez in the midst of this trio, just waiting for an opportunity maybe to pounce as we're down to 10 laps to go. We're well past the halfway mark, if I can get the order of my words right. And Jack David Spickett still eyeing those cars ahead, but it has now gone up to 4 seconds up to the lead. They are losing.
That's what happens. You lose contact with the group in front. You got to go quicker than them, and they are completely at the whims of what they can do. Aaron Blair now sits himself down looking at 8th place, and these two in an island of their own, 4 seconds away from Svensson, as Jack David Spickett now sets the fastest lap of the race, and currently 5 seconds ahead of Hoglar and Reed. So that then gives these two drivers only one emphasis, I think, in their mind as they duel it about into the De La Roggia, and Freckleton gets his pass. I think the big key for those two is going to be, well, which one of us is taking 8th?
What I do love about this community is they love a good race, so they'll battle hard, and you can see that here as Jacob Reed behind Hoglar is going to be maybe a bit blinded to this bright highlighter green number 14 filling up his windscreen. Coming off of the second Lesmo now, both of them try to get the throttle down. The UK driver doing his best to catch up with the Spaniard. He's got some good top end speed, but Hoglar's going to cover the inside and then weaves back to the racing line as they head into Ascari.
You got to remember with Jacob Reed, he is very, very good in anything open wheel. So he made the fantastic Turn Racing Grand Prix iRacing series about 3 years ago. He is a 2-time iRacing Grand Prix Tour champion. And here is someone who knows how difficult it is to go out there to battle to get himself back into line. He's trying to do what he can. And speaking of those who do what they can, Jacob Reed's now going to give that launch. And they got two big battles going on, P1 and P3. at the moment, looking like they're going to start slowly separating out a bit. Jacob Reed now in line, holding himself ready, wants to pull out and give himself the chance to make that move. Or, you know, you could just sit on the back and decide, you know what, I'm going to bump draft you over towards the Biasino curve. Why not?
Amazes me when open wheelers attempt that. It is not easy to do safely behind them. Friesen going to lose out to Parrish, and in fact, he has to check up big time, and Jason Clapper has to feel the effects of that as he gets off the throttle at a critical moment. So Parrish up to 12th, Friesen 13th, Clapper 14th.
So they still hold themselves as they are, so Mickey Friesen still unable to find that way through. Jason Clapper's done very well moving up through the order. He's gained double digits as he traditionally does and is still looking to try and pick up a little bit more from it, just making sure he capitalizes on everybody else's malaise over the course of this race. But you are in effectively lap countdown mode. We talk about ticking back every single time you're there. You know, Togo has not thrown a punch out there at this moment. He's very much been Sun Tzu, the art of patient defense at this stage. He hasn't wanted to go and say something. Oye now with the fastest lap of the race. He now finds himself stuck in a wall and doesn't want to show something. I think if Oye gets a big enough run heading on to the final lap, I'd like to be third going on to the final lap, not second.
That's a good point. You could use the momentum, but you do risk the track being a little bit too blocked by the two going side by side. It's not the widest of circuits, this one. Jacob Reed, let's jump back to him once again. He's slightly ahead of Hoglar this time, but he's not on the correct side of the track to try to take the shorter line in. Oh, but he is going to take the corner, whereas Hoglar is not, and that will absolutely lose him the position.
That's what happens when you try and battle Jacob Reed on the brakes. He is very, very accomplished and one of the latest breakers. So Pablo Rodriguez Hoglar, nothing you can do about that, sunshine. It's P11 for the moment. Slowdown penalty served, and now finds himself in no man's land and could be at risk of Friesen and Parrish and co. finding themselves closer. Jack David Spickett trying to work here. They've got a bit of traffic in front of them as well to try and navigate through by the looks of things, and that will be Elena Jack that have to get through, so that will certainly put a little bit of a understanding into play. But this is what you want. You want to find yourself with a chance to still, even at this stage, feel out what your opponent's good at, what your opponent's bad at. It's one of those circuits where you have to think completely differently to anywhere else on the calendar. Here comes another little search.
So Spickett's going to get the run. He'll take the inside, at least on this part. So where is he going to position himself after this, though? Because as we've seen, it's more critical coming down into De La Roja. And Rodriguez doesn't quite have the speed. Svensson and behind him also taking a tiny look. They'll stay single file, though.
Well, I don't think you want to be risking things at this stage. You might go for an 80% move if it's on, and what great drive by Jack David Spickett. That will give him a little bit of freedom to go and work with. Jason Clapper has another look, and it doesn't work, and neither does Mickey Friesen get the chance on Kevin Parrish. But you're not going to the 50% move until you've got at least 2 laps to go in this race. You're starting to think about, what are my chances of gaining that one place compared to how much I lose? You look at those drivers at the front, Parton and Hazada. I think they're going to have to go all out for it, because basically the way that they've raced the start of this season, the way they had to battle over at Road Atlanta, it's a case of who's going to start picking up notches first. If it becomes 2-0 to Pauli Partonen, Togo's going to have to go for some soul searching.
You mentioned the tie in fastest lap. The personal best of Hazada and Parton are also 1,000ths apart. So there you go. They are very much on pace with one another, although, like you've been saying, I don't think they've been showing their hand quite yet. I think this is a wait until the right time to really make your strike. And they continue to bring Zamaloa in each time they get to the front straight. But what's telling to me is that Oye seems to drop off through the rest of the lap.
And that would indicate to me he doesn't have a setup that he's confident with going through the medium speed corners so close to the likes of Togo Hazada. It indicates to me that the dirty air is a big prospect but it would also indicate to me as well, Joe, that he might be trying to drop back to keep his tyres fresher, because the closer you are behind another car, the more scrubbing you get because of those dirty airs and turbulences that you get over the top of the machine. And so when you're scrubbing the tyres up, you're wearing them out more. I think Oye's trying to give himself a gap so that he's got tyre life to work with by the time we reach lap 25.
That actually is what he's doing. That's incredibly clever. And we'll see if it pays off, because if it does, then that'll be a first for me. I've never seen someone attempt that here at Monza to give themselves an edge. Pepe Fuentes, who we've been riding on board with for some of the lap, still sits back in fourth just outside the podium, while Jack David Spickett versus JD Rodriguez is dropped off Svensson just slightly, almost a full second behind for a brief moment. See if he's got enough to start to run them back down now that they come by the pit lane once again and come down to 4 to go.
So if you're in a group like this, 5th or 6th, Svensson's got himself now no ability to sit back and wait. He's just got to go at full bore to try and chase this down. Jack David Spickett looking to get the move done and get the pass, but suddenly it's 7 tenths, it's 6 tenths there behind, and it's only going to get closed more and more and more. But you need confidence in the braking zone, and this is what happens when you don't have the braking zone from Parabolica over to the Della Roggia here. Those brakes go cold. The confidence on where you got to hit your markers, it's very easy to forget. Go 2 meters too deep into the corner, find yourself in trouble. Kevin Parrish again having to be alert on where he needs to brake. Frieson's just got enough room, but he's going to have to fight for the middle here. Running outside. Oh, Kevin!
And sideways as he does it. That was incredible stuff. Clapper probably watching with himself cheering inside that cockpit as well, because this is a heck of a battle to have a front row seat for. Now, can he pick it up and see if he can use it to his advantage, as the Nissan liveried Lotus has a slow exit, but it actually balks Clapper.
Well, normally, if you've got a Formula vehicle, you get the drag reduction system open, which is an extra 80 brake horsepower. Not these Lotus 79s. No, you got to do it old school. You got to do it on pure slipstream grit and determination. And that's where Jason Clapper, you can see how much he had to fight, Joe, there through each and every part of Ascari. He had oversteer in every corner, and that drops him the 2 tenths.
I still contend that this could easily be one of the most popular open wheelers on the track. You think about it, it's all raw power. It's got high downforce, but there are no aids in this thing. It is all analog in this machine. And Partsinen, Hesada, Zamaloa, Fuentes, they know that it is going to be down to their 2 hands and their right foot to try and make the best of this.
I think now if you're 3rd or you're 4th, you're going to start thinking about, I got to get by Togo Hesada, I got to get by Oye Samioa. You've got to give yourself position right now, and it's not going to be a case of sitting back, waiting and saying, this is what I am hoping for. You're not sitting down and saying, I am just going to settle for 4th place, because at the end of the day, if you're out there just settling for 4th, you know, what are you doing? These are 4 fantastic racing drivers who have proven over the course of 22 laps, now heading towards lap 24 out there in this race. They are the best of the best that this field has offered. None of them wants to walk away without the victory, let alone a podium.
Yeah, we can't stress enough the competitive spirit, how high it is amongst the top runners in the Lotus 79s. There's very much a sense of fair play, but they want to win badly, and they're going to go for it. Hesada gets a run once again, but again we see him lift. This time Zamaloa a lot closer by the time they cross the line. Fuentes takes another fastest lap, and now we're going for it. 3 wide coming down, and Hesada backs out of it, and Zamaloa gets the run, but he's going to be on the wrong side. You can see him slip a little bit up into the Curva Grande. Partsinen will pull ahead. Hesada wants another try, but again, he lifts early. Are they going to stay as they were? No, it looks like Zamaloa will take 2nd at least.
Well, you now start thinking, Joe, what more did you have to do? Samioa got everything he wanted. That was getting up into position number 2. He did clip the curb through the Biasino. That's going to cost him a tiny bit. That gap is half a second, but he's proven he can get a run. So now if he can get a run, he's got a good ability to launch. He's now got to go out there and attack and use it. The issue he's running into right now is that he's half a second back, and Hesada wants through, and Fuentes wants through. They both know how critical critical it is, they've got to go and get that pass. This close down is going to be one of the most critical ones on the final lap. Oh, and Paoli's gone to the Serpentine to try and break some toe away. He wants Oye having none, absolutely none of that toe going on to this final lap. 4.5 tenths of a second, 5 tenths out of the corner. Samayo, I don't think, had the easiest of drives. They're off for the exit. Barney's going to go waving the white flag, or actually he's going to be quite stationary there in the background as we start this final lap. Look at the way, Joe, that they are starting to fan. Paoli's got his clearance. Here comes Pepe and Togo.
Oh, they're going to bang wheels twice coming through the corner. They hold on, but poor Hisada is plugged up behind them with no place to go. That bad exit from Oye has doomed them to maybe a fight for second, and Oye is going to take... Oh, my goodness, Oye takes the off course while Togo Hisada is caught behind Pepe Fuentes. It is all unraveled for everybody but Partanen.
Look, Oye's in the lead. He can serve his slowdown in the lead, but he lifts out too wide, so Paoli takes the lead back. Oye Samayoa could have been so cheeky there and just blocked up the road. He didn't have the balls to do it.
No, Partanen had enough of track that he could go by, and he is going to be back ahead too far for Zamaloa to try to slipstream him. That was one of the wildest last laps we have ever seen at these Monza races, and that's saying something. Just about everything that could have happened, barring cars actually coming together, has happened. The number 2, though, once again proves to be the draft master at these tracks. The Just Paoli Special is a specialist at super speedways and a winner once again at Monza.
You put this down in the book and say Paoli Partanen knows better than anybody else how to run this race from the front. He was not going to let go. He was not going to relinquish. And ultimately, when both of the Spaniards decided we're going to throw it on the brakes down to get that sorted, that was huge in terms of where it went. Hisada effectively had to check up, and it's going to cost him a point here against Samayoa. Mickey Friesen dropping back late on here, heading towards the line. I think he's only just going to finish off ahead of where he needs to there. But what a fantastic showcase of racing at the front. And it all comes down to they left too much of a gap.
And I feel like some of that was down to Oye, because we mentioned he was struggling in the middle of the lap around here. I think he lost touch, and that pretty much just wrapped it up for them, as we're going to also wrap it up with our results. We'll have some interviews after this. In the meantime, Partanen, your victor here today in the end over Oye Zamaloa, as behind them it will be Togo Hisada, who does collect a podium finish, but frustration, no doubt, as he watched them run away, caught up behind fourth place Pepe Fuentes as he spun. Jack David Spickett still gets himself a top 5. Kjell Einar Svensson will be in the 6th spot. JD Rodriguez 7th, and Dylan Freckleton in 8th. Aaron Blair gets a 9th as Jacob Reed climbs his way back up to at least a top 10.
It's a great recovery from Jacob Reed, but over in 11th, Pablo Rodriguez Hoglar will take 11th ahead of Jason Clapper, who was able to stave off the likes of Kevin Parrish then and get the result he needed. Daniel Gallus would be 14th with Mickey Friesen 15th, just getting ahead of Juan Fran Hernandez there in 16th position. Josh Brain and Jason Green would be 17th and 18th, with Gabriel Martinez falling back to 19th. All things considered, would be the last finisher on the lead lap. The first of those a lap down being Shadi Ahmad.
Javier Mascares was 21st with Christoph Olenek, I think either a DNF or just winding up multiple laps down there in 22nd. Henry Morse definitely a DNF today, followed by Vico in 24th. So now Kuhnhart and Reed not getting to see the checkered flag. This race went pretty much how we tended to expect these races to go, with all the timing and the waiting, but the last lap absolutely caught me by surprise, Jake.
It caught me as well, because you are so intent on drivers trying to find that move, trying to get that pass. And I think it was clever from Samayoa. He overcooked it through. He had so much time to give up, though, that there was nothing he could do. He wanted to race it fairly and say, well, Paoli, you are the race leader. There's nothing I can do to stop you getting back through. But ultimately it comes down to who's got confidence on the brakes. In the final lap, it's placement, and apparently P1 was the best place to be.
Indeed it was, as we talked to Pauli Partsinen, who was our winner today. Pauli, we were talking about how strange of a final lap that was. What were your thoughts when you suddenly saw Zamaloa appear in front of you out of the chicane?
Well, yeah, it was a really tough last lap. I had enough gap to behind when I was entering the first corner, so I was not really worried about that somebody will overtake me. But yeah, seems like Oir just went straight on that corner, and luckily he gave me the position back, so it wasn't really a fight anymore at the last lap. But yeah, seemed to be very hard fight behind me.
Now, Alberto also gave you a lot of battle throughout the early stages of the race. Did it surprise you that he was trying to take the lead away?
Yeah, actually, I was super surprised. I knew he has a super good pace, and I think he's actually a bit faster than me on this track. So I was thinking that he will do some last lap things for me, but okay, he decided to fight at the start of the race, and then I was like, okay, well, if you want to fight, I can do that too. So I started to battle for the P1.
Well, you kicked things off with 2 wins. That's a pretty good start to the season, although you had Valenteus at the first round and not this one. Are you concerned at all if he continues to show up in later races?
Yeah, I really hope he comes back. He's super good, and I'm not sure did he win the 2 other winning races this week, but most likely he did if he participates. So hopefully we will see him on the next weeks.
All right. Well, thanks for coming and chatting with us, and congratulations on another win.
Thank you.
That was Pauli Partsinen, your victor and championship leader at the start. Oh, I just saw that it sounds like Togo Hisada is here. Let's let Jake have a chat with our 3rd place finisher.
Togo, it looked like a case of hold yourself in the pack, give yourself an opportunity to go out and really attack in the final couple of laps. But when the opportunity came, the road just blocked up in front of you.
Yes, I completely misjudged the timing, the opportunity to make a move. I'm looking the mirrors, and I can see the Oya is charging in the last 2 laps, and I should make a move on the main stretch on the last 2 laps, but I miss it, and then just follow the guys in front, and not have enough luck at the very last lap.
Especially in the early stages, it looked like both Pauli and Alberto were deciding they're going to make trades all day long. How important was it for you to give yourself a primary position inside the top 3 for pretty much the entirety of the day, just sitting there, waiting, biding time, keeping yourself out of trouble?
Yeah, it's all the time. It's P2. It's the best opportunities to take the victory on this track, and I'm worried about overheating the tires. So it's I'm trying to cool the tire temperatures all times, and it's look at the early stages, and I feel it's gonna be a clash somewhere in the middle of the race. So just risk management, and that's it.
What changes for you when you head to the Spider's Web in 1 week's time at Barber?
It's completely different track, and it's really difficult to overtake. So it should be very different style of racing, and of course the qualifying time is very important. So I must make the right Q setups and under the launch. The today's Pauli start is insane. He's starting P5, and he takes the lead before the braking on the very fast chain. So then and I should practice the launch. And yeah, let's hope to take the victory again in next week.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with that. It's third here today for Togo Hisada. It keeps him second in the championship, but critically, Joe, as far as today goes, I'd call that a missed opportunity.
Certainly, and I'm sure he'll be thinking about that for some of the season. We heard him mention, though, that we're heading off to Barber and how different of a track it is. Togo said it himself. Qualifying is going to be critical. It's a lot more technical of a circuit. I'm looking forward to it, Jake, because personally, it's one of my favorites in North America.
Look, this is a circuit that isn't for everyone that you drive it. I think to watch, it's a fantastic spectacle. This is a track that commands so much tyre responsibility that it's crazy. You've got 2 corners of well over 180 degrees of turn on the track. You've got that very difficult hilly section on the back half of the circuit. I think Barber produces the toughest challenge that these drivers have had so far this season, and it's not going to be as easy as you sit down, you go out there, you win this race. It is going to be sit down, survive, and then hope you've got a good position.
Yeah, you need to set yourself up early in the weekend on that one. Well, again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and thanks to the team today, Jake, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to subscribe to both GSRC and iRacing so you don't miss a moment. So we've talked about the next race, but up next on GSRC, we have the Skip Barber Sim Series at Summit Point. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts, but until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.